hello to all of you. Thank you for coming back for yet another episode of Justice League Revisited, the unofficial companion podcast to the greatest animated series of all time, Justice League, and now Justice League Unlimited as we go through this journey across these episodes. I am James Enstall, host of Geek To Me Radio. On the other side of the Zoom screen, not using her mic, we have Susan Eisenberg, the voice of Wonder Woman. How are you?
I mean, this is exciting today. I'm very excited for today's episode. Aren't you?
I am. I figured you would be, especially.
I am. And I'm talking a little funny because I had some dental work done yesterday. So if I talk weird, it's because I'm a little swollen over here on the left cheek and on my face. And I just to give everyone, if they're like, Susan sounds a little weird. It's not that I've been day drinking.
And that would explain the spit bucket. I thought you'd taken up tobacco. So,
hey, you know what? There's got to be like an unspoken bond between us that we don't reveal all our secrets
I'm so sorry
to everybody. Okay?
I'm so sorry. I will leave that. We'll edit that out. I'm not going to really edit it out for you guys listening.
You're not going to edit it out. I know you too well now. So today, you want to tell people what we're going to be listening to?
So excited because we are diving into such a classic episode, very memeable. There's so many images of it online. We're covering This Little Piggy. This is the 5th episode of the first season of Justice League Unlimited. Writer on this, Paul Dini. The director, Dan Riba, and a very, very cool voice cast as well, which we'll get into a little bit more as we cross into the episode here.
So should we bring out our special guest?
Do you want to go have one of the pages go get him, or do you want to go get him?
I'll go get him.
All right.
Well, we see him. I mean, he's here.
Oh, there he is. He's beating on the glass right now. Go around. Go around to the other door. There he is. Everyone's favorite guest, Dan Riba, joins us again. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for being on again.
I had to run all the way up here.
I'm sorry. I told you when you see the little light start to buzz or go off in the green room, that means put your drink down and come on in.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You know what? Let's be fair. He doesn't even need to put the drink down.
No,
he can bring it in the studio with us. It's fine. I mean, you've got your drink. I've got my drink.
There you go.
Mine's lemonade. But anyway.
That's okay.
Hi, Dan Riba.
Hi. How's everybody going?
Good.
We're good. And we're so happy to see you. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for always saying yes when we beg you to be on our podcast. But this is especially exciting because this episode, probably more than any other, is one that I talk about all the time, and also that the fans talk to me about. And I feel like it really has taken on an iconic stature for so many reasons. I'd say primarily because Kevin shows us that he lets us hear that beautiful singing voice of his, which is sublime. And also because it really features Wonderbat and their affection for each other. And also the stellar cast. I mean, there's so much talent in this episode. And it's not a big cast, but it's stellar.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. And obviously, Dan Riba, the director of this episode, as we mentioned in the beginning, there's so many things. The first thing that popped out at me, and this is definitely a Dan Riba question, they're looking down and they look to the side, the Iceberg Lounge, which I always think of Batman the Animated Series. It's out on an island in Gotham Harbor. It is like an iceberg. What was the idea of putting it kind of, is this a subsidiary? Did Oswald open a franchise? Because it looks like it's part of a main building.
Exactly. It's a franchise.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That was the first thing that struck me. Like, that's not the Iceberg Lounge.
Right. Yep. I think we just had a lettering that worked out, and we just reused the entrance. I mean, there's a lot of reuse on this show for economic reasons, largely. I'd love to say that there was some sort of meaning behind it, and there probably is something that we went, it'll work out okay. But I think because we just had a shot that was similar, and it was easier to build a city around the entrance or something. We had the lettering already set up, and so we just let's just make it. He has more than one.
Gotcha. Okay. It's a whole franchise that Oswald.
So that's the first thing that jumped out at you for this episode?
Yeah, because it's literally in the first shot. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what jumped out at me for this episode is how freaking funny it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is so funny. And not only is the script funny, Paul Dini, hats off to him, such a great script, but the direction is from a director who knows how to direct comedy.
Yeah.
Because it's like there is no difference between how this was directed and a live action would be directed. You set up the action, you get set up the joke, and then you get the punchline. And I have to tell you, Dan Riba, I laughed out loud so many times during this episode, and you did a great job at delivering the comedy in this. I mean, again, hats off, Paul Dini. It's one of my favorite scripts. I've told him a million times, but how you pulled that off is so fantastic.
I appreciate the compliment, but tell you, it was easy with the voice cast that nailed it, and the storyboard artist did a great job. It was a lot of finessing the little comedy bits just to get the timing quite right, and so it was fairly, it wasn't that hard.
Well, but it really jumped out at me because the timing was perfect when Batman says to Cersei, what do you want? I'll do anything. What do you want? And there's that beat and the screen goes black and then it goes on.
Right?
And it just made me laugh so hard. And the search, when they're searching for the pig, when they're searching for Wonder Woman, all the search comedy is, and Wonder Pig.
You know that the point of the episode, the whole focus was sort of a tribute to Bewitched. So we were sort of in comedy mindset while we were making the show, and there was a lot of little references to that. In fact, I just realized that the one guy the search for the pig, when the Crimson Avenger knocks on the door and the door opens up and apparently it was Bruce that did that voice. I looked that up. I didn't realize who that was. I was like, what actor? It was Bruce. Gladys. He's like looking for,
right.
And that Gladys was it's a Bewitched reference. There's all sorts of little
right. So am I
the wacky
Darren?
Comedy thing is.
Am I Darren in this episode?
Pretty much, yeah. Right. Actually, yeah.
Okay, I have to just say this in a very weird way. I'm having the most intense deja vu. The most intense. James, has anyone talked about Bewitched to us, or is this completely deja vu?
I don't think. Because I'm even trying to think who we would have had on, because we've not covered this episode before. It may just be deja vu.
Okay, wow, that's very intense. Yeah, and I guess I'm Darren, and Bruce Tim is Gladys. That's fun,
right? Yeah. That's he calls her Gladys, and it's funny too because even like Sid, the guy at the magic shop, that was Jack Carter.
I can't even that it was Jack Carter. I loved that when I saw that credit.
And by the way, today, the day we're recording this, happens to be his birthday.
Jack's.
I saw that somebody posted that online and went, oh my gosh, how
about
interesting. How about that?
Huh.
So
he and I had the same agent for a time, and I would see him come in for auditions at the voiceover agency. And I always just felt like pinch me, it always felt, there were so many people who came into the agency and you would just think, oh my God, that's so-and-so, and we tried to be cool. But it never, like in our sessions when people would come in, it was the same feeling.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's cool. Well, happy birthday, Jack Carter.
Yeah, right.
Yep, absolutely.
It's funny because I don't remember. I hear interviews with him on other shows, and and he just seems like such a complainy, angry guy, and yet he seemed like a sweetheart. I don't have any memory of him being difficult or angry or anything. He seemed like a nice enough fella,
Right. He did. And who knows? Who knows? I mean, he was lovely, but he was also at work, and maybe work was the love of his life.
It's performing as opposed to being himself in an interview. Yes.
Exactly. So
he took it seriously, and he respected us, professionally, as opposed to when he just wants to rail about something.
And it's a good part. I mean, it's a small part, but it's a great part. He was terrific in it.
And not only
Perfectly
Jack
cast.
Carter, but we've got Chad Einbinder, who was the voice of the attendant. We have obviously Jennifer Hale as Zatanna, which if I'm doing the count right, Dan, you can correct me. This is probably Jennifer's 5th different voice between Justice League, because she's done a bunch of other ones in Batman Adventures as well.
And you know that she has the Guinness Book. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records for having voiced the most characters.
Really?
In voice. Yes.
Really?
Oh.
Yes.
Interesting.
I would have thought maybe Tara would give her a run for her money there on that.
Yeah, you think.
Well, they both started very, very young.
Yeah.
Tara also. I'm sure it's neck and neck because Tara also, but I believe it's Jennifer who holds the record.
And then Peter,
but I think maybe Jennifer maybe guested more than Tara. Tara kind of
Tara,
she's a lead in so many shows.
Oh, maybe that's it.
But I think Jennifer has done so many voices all over the place as well as lead as well.
Yes.
So. And it's funny because Julie Brown did the voice in the Batman animated series, and but Jennifer is our go-to. We have a relationship with her, and and it was just I think Andrea was just sort of, it was easier to cast somebody that we already comfortable with. I mean, it's not that we're not comfortable with it, but But
no, we understand. No, totally.
But,
And didn't Juliet Landau voice Zatanna at one point in the series? I feel like I remember seeing Zatanna in her voice credits.
Well, maybe if it was one line or something, because there was, perhaps I think there was an episode where there was magic that was where it was affecting everybody, and I think she might have been sick or something.
Oh, okay,
I'm not and so. So in that episode, I don't think we could cast. We had to have multiple voices. Somebody had to do it, and it was just one line. So we're going to bring Jennifer in or anybody else in to do one line. Since Tala was already in the show, I think she just did it.
And then the rest of the cast too. We had Peter Onorati as Buona Beast, Rachel York as Cersei, and of course the great Lorraine Newman as Medusa, and she delivered those lines. I was like, you've got someone with comedy chops delivering those lines. That was great.
She was great. And in fact, I remember her sitting in the studio. I remember her sitting across from her in the studio and just being like, that's Lorraine Newman. That's my Saturday Night Live. That's what I grew up with, the original cast. And it was like we were, how lucky. We were it made me giddy to be across from her. It really did. And I'm still a fan of hers, and she's a genius. And she was perfect as Medusa. Perfect.
Yeah, I love the line where she says, "Tell her I want my curling iron back."
I know. So good. So good.
And that design, apparently, I looked at it, and it didn't. I can't guarantee this because I wasn't in the design room when they were designing the character, but it looks to me more like a James Tucker than a Bruce because it looks like a caricature of Tallulah Bankhead. If you look at the way the hair is combed and everything, the way the snakes are combed, I should say, it's totally Black Widow from the old '66 Batman series. So I think that seems more like a James Tucker touch than Bruce.
That's clever too. Wow, to
so
have that.
That's what I'm thinking, but again, I don't know. We'd have to ask them.
I may have to ask James Tucker that. I think he's on vacation in Italy presently.
I know. I saw Florence. Oh my goodness.
Yes, I know. I saw. But I think I may have to text him. We just had him on the show actually.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. But I think I'm going to have to ask him that because all right, I've got questions.
Okay.
Okay, and Dr. Fate, where was Dr. Fate in this?
Well, they specifically said that because Batman says, nope, no other, we want to keep the circle tight.
Small.
Yeah, we don't, because she
Exactly.
suggests Dr. Fate or Constantine, which I'm like, oh, Constantine's in the Justice League. That's interesting. But he would obviously never show up in this particular cartoon. But you can get him in Justice League Dark, which I'm sure Susan and I are going to cover at some point after we wrap Unlimited.
Oh, we're going to have to find something.
Yeah.
But I was curious. That's one of the questions I had was he said, let's keep the circle small. What was the decision making behind who showed up, because we got Red Tornado, we got Elongated Man, we got Crimson Avenger. What kind of decision making was which characters were going to be part of that tight circle? Do you remember it all?
No. Okay. No, I honestly don't. I don't think it was a voice thing. I just think it was just sort of to make a contrast visually, like who would. It was mostly comedy motivated than anything. And the idea is like these are our second ringers that aren't like the big names. So it just more interesting, mix it up a little. That's what I think the thinking was.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Susan, you said you had questions.
No, I mean, I have questions. I was saying that was referring to James Tucker. Like if I had questions.
I thought you would start grilling Dan Riba here on the show and just.
Well, one of the things that I thought was kind of funny is that we have Peter Onorati as Buona Beast, and what is he famous for? Is I mean, for me personally, I knew him from Cop Rock, which I love that show, and Cop Rock was, if you recall, a musical series,
like Hill Street Blues,
right? But it was a musical, a weekly musical.
Yes, it was,
and this was our most musical episode. Yes, Stephen Bochco, right?
Actually, John Romano was the showrunner on that show,
right?
And John Romano was my boss at one point. I worked with him on a show called Class of 96, which was a show about students. And John was so amazing. John gave me so many opportunities to do voiceover on the show. And he did that. He was the showrunner on that. And it wasn't a success. It wasn't.
No, but I love the show.
But people loved it. People had such passion for it.
Yeah.
And this was musical. And that's another thing that was like such a standout, how much singing there was. And songs were finished. It wasn't like songs were cut out. Like someone was able to actually sing an entire song. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Although we did cut off Am I Blue, which is sad because he does have a great ending on it. And I'm like, oh, well, just so much time, I guess.
I know.
It's like we just,
But seeing the women swoon over him as he starts to sing was so...
Excuse me. There were no women in that room.
No, but...
Oh, you mean for real? Gotcha. Yeah.
It was just so... I just loved it, when you see Cersei like react to him singing, and it's just
yes.
It's adorable.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
And I've told the story a million times. I mean, Kevin always broke into song. Whenever we would do an appearance together, he would do it without me, of course, but he just loved singing that song. He loved singing. He loved performing, and damn, he was so talented. It made me, this episode, watching it made me really, really miss him. And when the credits rolled, it was just our names for the leads of this, and it was so touching, that because this episode's so important to me. I love that opening scene. I love that. People talk about it all the time. It's a Wonder Bat scene. And then that end in the watchtower, the two of them walking, and those are two of my favorite scenes of the entire run.
I know. It was really, really fun.
It was so fun, and you get to see a different side of Batman, and the women are teasing him about his affection for Wonder Woman, and it's just darling. It's like a whole other aspect to both of our personalities, and genius.
I was curious, speaking of the women in Bruce's life, they had that moment in Zatanna's dressing room where she was like, oh, I haven't seen you for a while. And she's like, you and Diana then? She said, no, you and I are just friends. So and again, maybe you don't know the answer to this, but in my mind, they haven't seen each other since the stuff that happened with them in Batman Adventures, correct? Where they had that flashback scene to him working with Zatara to kind of learn about escapism and stuff like that. Am I correct in my assumption then that was the last time they actually saw each other?
I think that's what we're implying.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because Paul wrote that episode too.
Yeah.
So it's a nice bookend for that original
right.
And it's funny too, because they also differentiate between, now in this series, we can actually establish that she's really magic. Whereas in the original series, we had to leave that up in the air because on BTAS, we were not allowed to have real magic.
Interesting.
Bruce wanted the show rooted in reality. And so the caveat for her was that we would never establish for sure whether or not her magic was real. She was a stage magician. And her father was a famous escape artist that taught Bruce how to be an escape artist. But in that show, we weren't allowed to establish real magic. And it wasn't until Superman came along and we had an imp from the fifth dimension and did the demon and all this stuff happening later on that we were able to establish a world where magic exists. Once you get aliens and other dimensions and all that stuff, then it's, the cat out's a bag. We can have magic now.
So that's why in New Adventures of Batman, you were able to do Clarion and the Demon and things like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because we already sort of like upped the ante with Superman.
Gotcha.
But the original series, Bruce was really adamant that it was sort of like Scooby-Doo, where all the monsters are fake. We really wanted to make sure. And if there were monsters they were all science monsters. There was the werewolf we had was created by science. The Man-Bat was created by science. Right. Clayface was a science thing. They're all monsters based on that, but they're not supernatural.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's you're saying that makes a lot of things kind of click in my mind and be like, I think a few things make more sense now. And when I'm suddenly back cataloging Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series, and interesting.
It's an evolution that happens, and then so that we could actually establish that she had real powers now. So,
gotcha.
When you watch this episode, Dan, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you feel about this episode?
No. It's funny because as much as you say, it's well directed and all this stuff, I can't help but nitpick things that I would probably go, I like this, but maybe it would have been better if we had done it this way or that way, or I just remember how great something is, and I like to give credit to the storyboard artists, either Brett Blevins, James Tucker. Helped a lot on the boards and the musical section. Bob Smith, Butch actually boarded the stuff with Medusa. So there was a lot of just so many great jobs that so many people did that helped along. And then there's stuff I remember doing myself where it was like when Cersei's getting hit with all the stuff and the quit it. And I remember actually boarding that part, to try to get the timing right and the posing exactly right when she gets hit.
And then the red shoes sliding under the
yeah.
And the puff of green dust when she finally reappears.
Oh gosh! Yeah. I mean, it was really
so clever.
So clever.
And even the little things when we're catching Wonder Pig and they finally get her and that'll do pig. It's very just quick and subtle. Just boom. Right.
Oh,
and just all those little things are like, man, this is such a clever episode.
Well, and there's a line that always gets me that I laugh whenever Wannabeast is talking to the pigs and he's trying to explain, he's talking to the pigs. Have you seen her? She's wearing bracelets, kind of stuck up. Right. And so you realize, Wannabeast is trying to hit on Wonder Woman and was unsuccessful. So yeah, she's, to him, it's like, but now it's the pig, it's so funny.
Okay. So Lady Justice, when they're saying goodbye to Medusa, Medusa's like holding out her hand and like, as if to say, like, I want to get paid for this.
Yes.
Lady Justice says, she like basically tells them, hey, you got to give her some money.
Oh, the ferryman, not Medusa.
The ferryman, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. How does she know? She's blindfolded. How does she? What do I not know about this world? She's blindfolded, and yet she sees the hand. What am I missing as like somebody who's not geeky in this way?
I just assume that she knows she might be blindfolded, but she can see beyond seeing. You know,
Because she's the
knows
Greek.
what everybody's
She's the
doing.
Greek.
And she knows the rules more than anything. You know.
Okay, I see. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming she has special enhanced abilities because she's basically the representation where we get our justice from Our Lady Justice with the scales, and she knows they tip, even though without seeing them, she knows the scales tip in Medusa's favor, and okay, this is what you'll be. So I assume, because she was blindfolded before Batman and Zatanna even arrived, she already had the blindfold, so it's part of her identity. So I'm assuming she just had sight beyond sight, if I can borrow from Thundercats for a moment.
Yeah. Oh, God, I wish you would.
It is funny to actually have an embodiment of the Lady Justice, because she's actually showed up in different forms throughout the BTAS world at the DCAU, in that she was there's a statue of her in trial outside where Poison Ivy shows up. There is she's in the title sequence of Batman Beyond, and that statue, actually, if I may reveal, is actually owned by Bruce Timm. Bruce has that statue. That was his.
Really?
He took a picture of it, and that was actually used in the thing. So that there's something about Lady Justice showing up, you know, throughout the course of our DCAU. She's always been a kind of a part of us anyway. Now she's actually a physical embodiment.
I loved seeing her. I thought it was fantastic. And I love how, you know, you're assuming 20 years later, it's safe to reveal certain things. I you know, like, of course it is. Like, if we can't talk about the show now and this, and what, I mean, it's like you've shared with us at times, like what Bruce drew, that he drew certain things.
Right.
You know, when I think when Wonder Woman, I think Paradise Lost, I think when she's, you know, on the mascara, and she goes in the statues, and you said Bruce did that.
He did some of those. Yeah. And there's all sorts of things. I have some notes on that one where there was the board artist was a little too brutal with Hades and Hippolyta, and Bruce was like, you know, we can't show this. It's like, and it was like, it's not only are you going to get a BS&P note, but it's ugly because it's very physical violence on a woman. And you know, it's one thing, we've got nice, you know, women that fight back and everything, but when it gets that brutal, it's like, no, that slap, punch, whatever, it has to be off screen. We can't see that. Oh. And it was actually really, you know, of course. You know, a board artist doesn't realize when they're drawing, they're trying to like get visceral. Let's get the most intense thing here. And they don't really realize that what the visual they're doing is actually pretty ugly, and really the visuals are what stay with people. So you really do need to be more cognizant and you know, respectful of the audience. There's still kids watching.
Yes.
And those images stay with you. So it's like, let's keep it, you know,
G-rated.
Yeah, at least PG, you know?
Let's
not go, you know, let's not.
Dark.
We can go dark, but let's not go too dark. Let's not go ugly, you know? So that was some of those things that happened in the past, but not this episode.
Yeah, and it's funny.
This is a lighter one.
I mean, you have such a different perspective. So of course you're watching, and you know, you're thinking, oh, okay, I would have done that, or gosh, the storyboard artist was a genius. But you know, I think it's such a flawless little gem. I do. And like I said, I laughed so much at the comedy bits, like they're bits, and it's like old school comedy, which I so appreciated.
Yeah, this felt to me, between the musical numbers and the comedy bits, very much like a Warner Brothers classic. You know, I'm turning it on, and it's, you know, the table and the piano hitting her, and that the way that kind of those beats and everything felt like it could be right out of Animaniacs, something in a Slappy Squirrel cartoon. I loved the singing stuff was like just out of a classic Bugs Bunny cartoon where they'll do the big. I can almost see the symphony be conducting the score to this one from the dynamic music partners as they have the orchestra going in the background. So, I can't say enough good things about this episode.
And Rachel York was so, you know, she's this exquisite looking person, and then she sings like that. You know, it's like she was so beautiful and so talented. And I just remember being in awe of her in the room.
I know.
She was spectacular.
Yeah, I know. It was like, wow, this is a Tony Award winning performance. You know,
Yes.
It was like we were treated. We were treated.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
You know,
I was wondering if the singing, because both Kevin's and Rachel's, did they have like, okay, we're going to pause here, we're going to come back and do the song later, or was that just, okay, proceed, this is where the song comes in, and did they go through it at that time so it stayed in perfect continuity?
Wow. I don't remember.
I remember Rachel singing in the studio because I remember listening to her, but they probably did it after.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I seem to remember we kind of like just kept the narrative going
and then
did
saved
the singing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't remember Kevin. I don't remember Kevin actually recording that, and I'm wondering if he was in New York when he did it, or if he was in LA.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
He spent so much time in New York, and he would come back a little bit for Justice League Unlimited. We'd see him from time to time.
Right.
But I'm not sure. I
just wasn't sure if the singing was considered part of the ADR that you would all do afterwards. And okay, thanks, we'll hang on to the song for after.
I don't think it was ADR. I think it was that session, but it was after we did the
voice, the radio plays.
Yes, thank you. Radio drama.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's funny because it's like I seem to remember a pause. I seem to remember we're like, let's save it, you know. So yeah, gosh, boy.
Well, what else do we talk about, you guys?
I mean, this.
Yeah.
What?
No, I was just going to say when you're doing how much, because Paul Dini obviously was one of the right there founders of Batman the Animated Series. It's him and Bruce Timm, who I normally associate with the DCU animation universe, all that stuff. How closely did Paul Dini, once he wrote the script, did he work with you guys on storyboards and everything like that? Was it just like one of the other writers? He was there in the recording session, or at this point was he kind of spread thin because he was doing a lot of other stuff if I remember correctly?
He was, but I'm pretty sure he was at the record.
Okay.
I seem to think he was on this one. But I don't think, at this point he wasn't a producer, so I don't think he was like hands on the board or anything. I don't think he gave us notes on the board.
Okay.
But I do believe he was there for the record. I'm pretty sure he should be.
We'll have to see if we can ask him. We'll have to see about that. Maybe.
What's funny too, I bumped into Lorraine Newman at an event there was a film about Drew Friedman, who was a classmate of mine at SVA, the Vermeer of the Borscht Belt, and they had a screening, and she was on the panel, and I talked to her a little bit after the film, and asked her if she remembered, and she did remember the episode well. And,
really?
And so yeah, she had fond memories of recording this one. So that was neat.
That is neat. It is, especially, I mean, considering her career, but I'm sure this, people remember the show.
Exactly.
And the fact that it's still around and they see us all at Comic-Cons and all this other stuff. So, and again, I remember her vividly sitting across from me at the studio recording. Vivid.
Yeah,
do you happen to know, obviously, Andrea would be the person to ask about the casting, but was this one of the ones was she specifically in mind for this role because of something else? Do you remember, Dan? Was like, we could get Lorraine Newman to do Medusa, or was there any other names? Do you remember that at all, the casting?
I was not a part of the casting on this
but,
at all.
I think Lorraine was doing a lot of voiceover.
She was.
And that was like a big part of her career at that point.
Right.
So she was somebody you called if you wanted a certain character. I think she was on, a short list of really capable voiceover actors that you could get Medusa, We need Medusa for this episode. Get Lorraine Newman.
I'm trying to think of what other Warner's voices she might have done, because I'm pretty sure she was already a staple on
I seem to remember her
she's
voice
being
in-
a groundling. She must know of the other groundlings and stuff. And there was a very heavy groundling influence on Animaniacs.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I feel like I saw her name on Tiny Toons, an episode
I
of Tiny
think so.
Toons, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I'm trying to think of who. I'd have to check the IMDb.
Well, but that just tells you that Andrea knew her,
Yeah, exactly.
and knew her work. And as I'm sure she did everybody in town who, did voiceover.
Exactly. Yep. She's still. I'm looking now. So yeah, she's like Crapopolis, Dogman. She's in The Day the Earth Blew Up, the Looney Tunes movie.
Oh, fun.
So she does a lot of animation.
Who does she voice in Crapopolis?
Let's see.
Is it multiple voices?
Atropos.
Okay, because that's on Sunday nights, and I catch it sometime at the radio station in between shows, and I didn't.
It was one episode.
Okay, so it's not recurring. Okay, I was going to say,
right.
I'm trying to think who she would be if she was a recurring character or not.
Right.
And I didn't notice until I was looking this up a little bit more that our voice for the attendant, Chad Einbinder, was her husband.
Yes,
I didn't realize that.
Yes,
right.
they're divorced now, but they were and again, we used to all have the same agent, and I used to see them all both at auditions all the time. Yeah. So, and their daughter Hannah is on the smash hit.
Yes. I didn't realize that was. Oh my gosh, Hannah Einbinder! Wow.
Yes, that's
on
Lorraine's daughter.
Hacks. No
Yes,
kidding.
Hacks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is such a good show. Oh my gosh,
That's Lorraine's daughter.
I don't know how Jean Smart isn't just in everything because she's
right.
Oh my gosh, but I didn't the last name when I was writing down the cast list. Oh, Chad Einbinder. Wonder if that's any relation or it's just one of those common names. But that's incredible.
Right.
I did not know
Not that common. Yeah.
Huh.
Well, listen, you guys, you can bring all the cartoon geeky stuff and the comic book stuff, and I'll bring the other things.
There you go.
Like who was married to whom.
Yes. We want to hear all of it, all the dirt. My gosh, she does have a huge. I can't even get through. I forgot. She played Baby Doll, the new Baby Doll.
Yes, in Batman.
Yes, in Batman.
Right. That's right.
Yes, and she was Toby on. Oh my gosh, she was Toby Raines on Superman the Animated Series. Maggie Sawyer's friend.
Yeah,
that we weren't allowed to say more than that. But yes,
I noticed they just released a Killer Croc with Baby Doll action figure.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm gonna have to find if I ever get Lorraine Newman in front of me, I'm gonna have to have her sign that.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I thought of reaching out to her to see if she would do the podcast for it, but this one's pretty covered this episode. So at the same time, it's like, how do you have Lorraine Newman on and not talk about Saturday Night Live?
Right.
I know. It's just, exactly. So there's too much outside of the episode to
right.
The giant world out there. Yes.
Right. Maybe we can get her as one of our evergreen episodes.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll just add it in. And then for whatever reason, we'll just get Garrett Morris too, because I've always wanted to talk to Garrett Morris. We're going down the Saturday Night Live rabbit hole.
Now, I don't know when this will air, but the interview we had last week, will this air before that one?
No, because both of those episodes are prior to this one, Hawk and Dove and Kid Stuff. So Kid Stuff actually just dropped. Or no, I'm sorry, it's dropping on July 1st.
Well, because I wanted to mention Joaquin because we talked to him and what he said about Dan.
Oh, for sure.
No, go. We could totally, yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that.
We should gush that Joaquin was gushing.
Yes.
Because he said he called Dan Riba a mentor, a big brother figure, wouldn't have been in the business without him.
Right.
And he told the great story about how Bruce's leg shakes when he doesn't like something in the screening, and you were the one who kind of was a bit of a buffer and kind of said, "Hey, man, this is not great." But
because he messed up.
Yeah,
he told us a story about messing up really badly, and Bruce was furious, and as was everybody, because it meant like a lot of money to fix it. And he talks about you telling him, "Hey, you did mess up and it's big and you should know that, but it's going to be fine. And he was so grateful to you for so many things. And it was so fun talking with him because I don't think I've seen him since the show ended. And, he was telling us his story and how he got into the business and everything like that. But he gives you so much credit for being just the best mentor somebody could have. And we were shocked because we thought, wow, really? Dan?
Wait, you mean Dan Riba?
Our Dan, the Dan we know?
I know.
Like he's
I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing.
Prickly.
I saw him kick an orphan coming out of the hotel the other day. I mean, come on.
Well, they had it coming.
To be fair, yeah.
Fair enough. But we had such a good talk with him, and and he directed, like, you guys kind of split the direction for this. The two of you.
Yeah. But Butch decided he was being overworked. He just felt like he was doing too much at the time. And so he took a break and just decided he just wanted to storyboard a little bit for a while. And so when we came back, and they were like, there was really no one else that people, it was like, it was sort of heartbreaking for me because I relied on Joaquin so much on so many shows, but it was also so wonderful that he be given an opportunity like this. And so I was so happy that he got promoted because. And
it's nice to hear that people, it's nice that people get promoted, that you can start off in one area and then be a director on one of the best animated series ever.
Well, he's such a hard worker and he's so insanely talented right out of the gate. He was really, really solid. And he was one of those things where I remember Bruce talking about how he would ask to watch the raw footage and then compare it to the final edit so that he could learn how things had been edited. And he was one of the few board artists that took an interest in that. And that's the thing that gave Bruce the insight that not only does this guy know how to draw and can he tell a story, but he wants to learn the process and what we're doing. And that was a very important thing that he said that, up until then, people hadn't really done that before. And so he noticed that, and that was like a feather in his cap that, that he didn't even know he didn't even know yet, but Bruce was like, always like, this guy really wants to learn and get better. And he's already great. So, absolutely. This is a job,
It was interesting hearing how many people were so nervous when they started, and being in that room, James Tucker talked about being nervous and his, he'd be in this, really, he did talk about it. And
interesting.
I know. And, and working on these iconic shows that they were fans of and Joaquin, being in that room and with these people that he just admired so much and the nerves and the anxiety all that, you look across the glass and you think everyone's like puff, puff. And come to find out, people had their own demons they were dealing with these opportunities.
Yes. It wasn't, how can I put this? Yeah, where it was fun. It was great. It was but it was not exactly a piece of cake. The show was very hard, and yeah, we had a lot of stress. There was a lot riding on it. It had a lot of eyes on it. Yeah, and so we had to get it right, and when we didn't, it was stressful. So I was blood pressure and all sorts of fun things happening during the show. So these things happen because it was a stressful environment. And we try to downplay it because it was so much, it's such a joy to get it right. And it's, and I we're not digging ditches. We're making cartoons, for crying out loud, Right. It's like, how can you complain? How can you complain when you get to live the dream? But it's a lot tougher than it looks.
Well, and we've heard that from a lot of people, that we've interviewed, that as much as it was joyful too to be able to do this, that the pressure was intense. The money was an issue. The studio, it wasn't an easy environment, put it that way. It wasn't completely supportive as an environment in terms of the studio and all this other stuff. So, I think that's important to recognize that existed, and from that, though, look what emerged. And how did you deal with the pressure? I mean, was that something that you knew you could handle, that kind of pressure? Because I'm not good with that kind of pressure. How did you deal with it?
How did I?
I mean, Bruce was a big smoker, right?
Yes,
so Bruce was just, and the leg was always shaking.
Yeah.
I mean,
internalize some of it and then kind of let it, you come home to your family and you just let it, you got a kid. I had a baby at the time, and,
wow.
So it was like, I couldn't let it get to me. And it was actually, and that stuff was sort of like, that was the perfect medicine,
Yes.
was, you can get your mind off anything when you're playing with your kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, it helped a lot. So,
and perspective, right? Like you just come home and it's like, oh, okay, it is a cartoon. I mean, it's damn good and we care about it, but it's not my kid. Mm-hmm. It's not my family.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I always think that when people say nice things about people, I always think you should pass it on. I think that's important because we all have our demons. We all have the negative things that go through our own minds. So it's so nice to hear when people say lovely things about you.
Well, what's very nice is, and I thank you very, very much for sharing, because I know Joaquin has affection for me, and I've talked to him a lot and whatever. But the little details of these stories, honestly, it's a long time ago. I don't remember. Yes, it is. I don't remember any of it.
Well, when we asked him to be on it, he said, I'm not going to remember anything, Susan. I don't remember anything. And I said, that's why we have HBO. You can watch the episode and it'll spark your memories.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, okay.
But in terms of like that moment with him, it was like, I don't remember that. And it's funny because it's like, you'd think I would, because it was such a big deal to him. And for me, it was like giving advice to a friend. And, I didn't, gosh, I wish I could remember all the things, Well,
you'll listen to the episode, Dan, and I bet it'll come back to you because he was very specific. In fact, one of the things he said to me when I asked him to be on, he said, oh, I would love to do that episode with you, but if we don't do this other episode, I have a great story. And I was like, well, that's what James and I are in it for, the good stories. And then he said, I have a Bruce Timm story for you. And then he told us the Bruce Timm story, and you had a starring role in the story because you kind of saved his ass on it.
You were the buffer.
Yeah. Yeah, the buffer. Yep.
But no, I think it's one of those things that obviously it did happen to you. And of course, because he talked about beating himself up all night, the night after the talking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And so, of course, things like that do resonate. There's big mistakes that I've made that I know I made big mistakes that I'm still beating myself up for. So something like that, of course, he's going to remember. But you were the little buffer between Bruce's wrath and Joaquin. So I think that's why maybe it was like, I was there, but I don't, just it wasn't as impactful on your memory.
Well, I do remember other incidences and on other shows and on mine and doing the same kind of thing with the storyboard artist where Bruce didn't like something and then we had to go through and watch it with him to like point out what he didn't like. And then it was really weird because then it ended up, and I'm not going to say the episode in case we discuss it.
Ooh, so it's coming up. Okay.
But it was one of those things where, it was really strange. It was a very strange thing because he couldn't articulate what he didn't like and what wasn't working. And then when he finally saw it as an animatic, he was like, oh, this actually plays better than I expected. And then so he still gave some notes about what was wrong, but this giant, this fuming anger, like, I got to show you what's, you got to learn what you did wrong kind of thing to the board artist and me when he was, and then when we watched it, it was like, oh, okay, well, it looks like it works. So it kind of like, it wasn't, it was suddenly, it was just like, it was in a mood, when he saw it. Now, sadly, that episode didn't come back as well animated as possible, and some of those things were a little bit more confusing. We had to play with it a lot in editing to make that episode work. So, so for me, that episode was a little cursed.
We're ending this broadcast right now because I'm deeply curious as to what this is. So we're going to talk to Dan Riba off air. I'm kidding, but no, we will have that conversation because now I'm very curious.
And it came out okay. It came out fine, but it's not
But it would have been. It really does. I wish there were cameras that had been allowed, not for that, but just to see the process. But the process, like the storyboarding, like all these things that you talk about, there to me, I've never seen it being done. So it would have been so interesting had there been cameras in the room when just to see the writers talking and, behind the scenes a little bit.
Well, what's really fun is like Lauren Montgomery was like so incredibly talented. She was so good. And we adored her work immediately, and I was really upset that she was on Joaquim's crew and not on mine, but it's fine. But what that meant was that I never got a Black Canary episode because she drew her so well. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, fine. But what's neat is like she was a basketball fanatic and would watch the games. She would work in a break room. We had we had these rooms for meetings and stuff. And after hours, she liked working late. And so she would just like bring some food in, have the TV on, and watch basketball while she's storyboarding.
Wow.
It's interesting you brought up Lauren Montgomery because Joaquim also talked about her a lot. Yeah. And her talent. And also that she was one of the few, if not only women, on the scene at the time. And so we talked about her quite a bit. And hopefully we can, get her on the show. I would love to have her on the show.
It would be great. Great.
Yeah, we really do need to get her on. And she directed me in a movie and one of the DVD, straight to DVD. And I can't remember which one it was, but I remember her being my director. Yeah. So I have to track her down.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful.
Yeah. And all right, that's on my to-do list. I'll wait till after we finish the podcast.
Thank you. You made that call very awkwardly in the middle of our last episode, and I found it off-putting. So thank you. Sorry. But it's always good to get your insights, Dan, because I mean this world we're diving into, it just has expanded now with Unlimited, where I feel like Justice League was huge, but then I can't imagine, because I know the stories I've heard where Bruce didn't want to do Justice League because it was so big and expansive, and then I can't imagine the cajoling to get him to go to Unlimited, and it just gets bigger, and it's fascinating, and all these great characters that we get to talk about now, like Cersei and Zatanna coming back in. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to give on this Little Piggy?
Well, I love the episode. I think it's fabulous. But I was talking to a director that was working on Ben 10 at the time, and he'd since moved on to other shows, including I think Cape and the Cape Crusader right now. And so I'm not going to name him because he actually told me outright that this is the episode that made him stop watching the series. He said, "My Batman doesn't sing."
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought, wow. Now that guy has to be like such a such rigid. A narrow view,
so rigid,
narrow view of what Batman is, that it has to be the most serious thing in the world, or I am not watching it. And just the fact that we went there, he thought we'd go there again, and he just decided, they're making fun. This isn't for me anymore. And I thought, what an odd what an odd thing. But it's like, it's a choice, you know, he made that choice to decide not to like it. But it's funny because I'm very proud of the show, and I'm glad that it has an impact, and that people remember it fondly. But I also keep the proper perspective. Some people,
right,
have a different opinion.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
So,
and it was a standout because of this. I mean, the singing is something that stands out.
Yes.
And I mean, when thinking back, do you think, well, you know, now that I've had some time to think about it, having him sing or blah blah. I mean, does that feel okay to you?
It does. It does because of the context of the episode. Mm-hmm. In any other episode, it would be weird because of the whole sort of magical nature of the episode. There's something about it that it lives in a bubble outside of the Cadmus arc and everything else going on. It has its own reality, and it is our sitcom episode. But it's okay, you know. It's like the Trouble with Tribbles on Star Trek, you know.
Yes,
you know, or piece of the action with the gangsters. It's like you get these episodes that are funny and are fun and different, and it's okay. You haven't killed the franchise,
right?
You know, it's all right. But
I stopped watching Star Trek: The Next Generation when Data was able to do the Vulcan nerve pinch. After that, I was done. It's the same kind of. It's just the weirdest reason to quit watching a series. I don't know.
Well, we're glad you were here because we love it, and we love having you on. We told Joaquin that you know you're our go-to guy, and how much I've enjoyed that. You know, that I've gotten to know you so well. And now we're doing Comic-Cons together. I mean, it's just,
right?
It's just so wonderful. So much fun.
It really is.
We tell everyone and anyone how popular you are at these Comic-Cons. Because, you know, it's quite special that, you know, you're getting your time in the sun. I love it. I love it for you.
And you've been so busy with Comic Cons. Do you have any ones coming up in August or September that you know of in the latter part of the year?
I know. I have one before before this airs, so I'll mention the Denver one on 4th of July weekend, which is obviously well, you missed me if you're listening, but I believe Omaha, Nebraska in early August.
Okay.
And then sometime in October, I believe I'm doing Cincinnati.
Oh, fun.
Wow.
That's not too far. I can drive to Cincinnati. That's not too far of a drive.
Go for it. So,
and it's always cool because everyone loves it. I tell everyone about the person.
In San Diego, by the way, I'm probably going to be there too. Not with James, but just a little, thing for that too. Probably
that's the big
too.
one, San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah. I
wow.
I might be doing some signing with some company for that.
Wow, good for you. That's brilliant.
Yeah. But I'm usually with Heroic Fine Art at these things. That's my that's my booth. That's where I stand.
Yeah, it's a great booth.
And again, probably after this, there's a real Ghostbusters book that's coming out, and I have artwork and an interview in it, and I will be doing a signing at the Universal City Walk, July 14th.
Oh, that's so cool.
Dan, you're blowing up. This is incredible. I mean, your agent's phone must be ringing off the hook. All right, for kids who are listening, we used to have... Well, we're thrilled. We adore you. You know that. And we thank you for being on. It won't be the last time for sure. Unfortunately, You're not rid of us yet. You know what would be fun? It would be to have Joaquin on with Dan.
That would be. Yes, we should. I wonder for maybe the series finale. I mean, I'm sorry, not the series, but the season.
Sure. And also we did the Wild West episode, and then he did the future one, and they bookend each other. And, he had the better episode, but I enjoyed the one I did a lot. Let's
do that, James.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think that
one
would
would be a fun one to do together, and then we can discuss both episodes, because it's,
like you used to do for Family Ties on a very special episode of Justice League Revisited. We'll do
because we already... Okay, so we'll have both of these guys on together because we already got Joaquin to agree. No pressure to be on the show again, and he said he'd love to, and we have it in writing actually. So
there you go.
We'll have both of you on together because I think that would be really fun.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
That'd be great.
All right, so we're done with Dan, right?
Yes.
We're going to let this guy go and have his evening.
We're done
for this episode.
Thank you for being on with us again.
Thank you, Dan Riba.
We appreciate it.
And thank you for having me again. This is always a joy to be with you guys.
Thank you, Dan. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Out the door, on his way, Dan Riba. Always good to have him on the insights, the stories. I never would have made that Bewitched connection. So that was just one of those insights.
And I only made it because I was having intense deja vu. So I already had made that connection in a prior conversation. It's so weird. Rarely have I had deja vu like that. And but I loved hearing all those connections to Bewitched because I love that show.
Yeah. No, but he's great. He's like I said, a fan favorite guest because everyone loves hearing from him and his insights. And this was such a fun episode.
So fun. And, and so beloved. I mean, I get asked about this episode all the time. It's definitely a fan favorite. It's one of my favorites. Well, and it was great to hear, his takeaway. I mean, he's always more critical which I understand completely.
Yeah.
But what's so funny about this episode? I'm rarely in it. I mean, in so little of it. And yet it's just, I just love that opening scene and that closing scene. And I love everything in between. One of the funniest episodes, I think, of the series.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so many of those moments that people take the screenshots of. Obviously, Batman with the spotlight on him singing Am I Blue? The two of you up on the rooftop together. I think you even have that as an 8x10 that you have for people to sign. I feel like I remember seeing...
I don't.
Really?
I don't, but I should, actually. Yeah. I should have that. I think it's a little tricky now. I had a beautiful picture of me kissing Batman.
Yeah.
And... people used to go to my table, they'd get me to sign it, then they'd go to Kev's table and get him to sign it. So, I don't know. But I'm thrilled we had Dan on. I'm thrilled we finally talked about this episode, and another one in the can, my friend.
Yep.
Look at us. Look at us making our way through. I know.
It's crazy. But yeah, the cast on this, the writing and the directing, top notch. We can see why it's a fan favorite. So if you've enjoyed this episode, do us a favor and subscribe. Maybe you're new. Maybe this is your first episode. Hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to us. We do these. We drop them once every other week on a Tuesday. So you've got, if this is your first episode, welcome. There's a huge back catalog for you to enjoy. All of Justice League and several episodes leading up till now of Justice League Unlimited. But we're going to keep going forward. So hit the subscribe button. Check us out. Tell your friends about us. And... We'll keep delivering
and leave a
the goods.
Review.
Yes, please.
And leave a review. And so for the people out there who want to find out what you're up to and what you're doing, how do they do that?
Yeah, very easy to track me down. Geek To Me Radio is the website you can go to and check out all the back catalog of the shows I've done. Nearly 500. We're coming up on the 500 mark pretty quick here for episodes and radio shows. It is a live radio show, so you can tune in every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, for me with a live guest. If my executive producer is in studio, we run video as well, so you can watch us. And then, new content. We always talk about pop culture, movies, TVs, video games, all that kind of good stuff. So check us out there. What about you?
Well, thanks for asking. So Susan Eisenberg, the number, and Blue Sky, Instagram, and SusanEisenbergVoice.com is the website. And that's where people can find me if they're looking.
And they should be. They should be. That's right.
All right. So this is a wrap. And I'm thrilled that we did this episode. I'm thrilled that we had Dan Riba on, and I'm thrilled that everyone's listening. Thank you for tuning into this. Those out there listening to us as you drive to work or drive home from work, or, however you're listening to us, we just appreciate it so much. So please stay tuned because the conversation continues.